Today, we have the opportunity to talk to one of the great coaches in the history of the NFL, one of the great coaches in the history of the New York Jets, part of many teams that went to the playoffs, part of the two teams that went to back-to-back AFC championship games. The great Mike Westhoff, who's got a new book coming out in July, is going to be joining us. So let's hit it and get it started. Hit it! Welcome in, everyone. My name is Jake Asman. This is the Jake Asman Show. The Jets just had one of their greatest wins in the last 20-something years, and we're going to break it all down. Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh, C.J. Mosley, Joe Douglas, Elijah Moore, Mekhi Becton, Michael Carter, Braxton Berrios. Of Super Chats, you cut the line. Smash the like button down below. That's that thumbs up icon. Now, let's talk about the New York Jets. Here we go on a Tuesday program. A lot happening with the Jets. Joe Douglas spoke earlier. We'll have another video reacting to that later in the day. But right now, we are excited to bring on one of the great coaches in the history of the National Football League, the great Mike Westhoff joins us now. Coach, appreciate the time. I'm so glad we can make this happen. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your introduction. It's pretty cool.
Coach, let's start with the book. You know, you were telling me about it off air. I think every football fan, and of course the Jet fan, is going to enjoy it. It's coming out in July, and it's not your typical football book. Tell everyone all about it.
No, it's not at all. It'll be released in July, which was really a kind of an achievement getting a book published. As I found out, it's not the easiest thing. It was actually easier to write than it was getting it published. The book's called Figure It Out, which is what it's all about. It's figure it out. It's how so many, myself included, came into the National Football League kind of unheralded. And then we figured it out. And as Roger Goodell said, he's on the back cover, in the National Football League, he said, Mike Westhoff changed the game. And I think I had a lot to do with that. And then I was able to take nondescript guys that came out of nowhere. And we kind of put them all together and blended this unit. And at the right time in the right place, don't get me wrong, I was very fortunate. When I got started as a special teams coach, there really was not special teams in the NFL in 1982. You know, there wasn't coordinators. It was done by the staff, kind of not haphazardly, but certainly with no creativity. And so I kind of got started, and I learned that if I developed a philosophy that I could follow, that wasn't that hard. But what opened the door for me is that basically nothing was regulated. You could do anything, and I tried everything. Now a lot of it's been banned. You can't do it anymore. We were pretty physical, but it opened the door for a whole new part of the NFL. And all of a sudden, you know, a group of coaches came along and that were very astute, and we figured it out. I think, you know, I mean, of course, I'm kind of cocky about it. I think I figured it out as much as anybody ever did. But all of a sudden, we were effective week in and week out. We could make a difference because every play counted. Every kickoff was returned. I'll give you a good statistic, good number. I used this in my book. In my first 30 years in the National Football League, my first 30 years as a coach, of which a lot of it I became a special teams coach, but I started coaching offense and I did a little bit of everything. But anyway, my first 30 years, not counting field goals or PATs, whether you kick them or defend them, not counting those, I averaged 22 plays a game. 22 plays. Punts, punt returns, kickoffs, kickoff returns. I averaged 22. My last 2 years, after I'd been retired, I went back to the New Orleans Saints. My last 2 years, 7. 22 plays, 7. Now, I'm not counting a touchback. I mean, I'm 70 years old. I can cover a damn touchback. Come on. On the field. Might take me a while, but I'll get there. And so it's just so dramatically changed. Now, a lot of it was changed with the idea there's some safety things that needed done. Yes, I totally agree. Some of it, in my opinion, was under the guise of safety. You know, so I use this example in my book. one of the with concussions. So we're all concerned, and the league has done a tremendous job trying to aid in that regard. Helmet to helmet are strictly forbidden, et cetera, et cetera. One of the most prohibitive types of play resulting in a touchback is if the quarterback leads the receiver in the middle of the field and throws it to him and he gets killed. So what are you going to do? Tell the quarterback, don't throw the ball in the middle of the field? So what do? They take out a kicking play and they say, oh, yeah, we're really concerned. That's bothered me. That's really upset me. Because I really felt that my teams as special teams units were the most physical in the NFL. I think we did it harder than anybody ever did it. That's me. I'll argue that one forever. But it was always taught cleanly. We never hit above the shoulders. We never hit below the knees. We had very few penalties. I really believed in that. And I have a tremendous respect for the game. And then plus myself, physically, I know a little something about being uncomfortable in my life with all the crazy medical things I have, which I actually talked about in the book also. So I respect NFL players. There's no bounties in my room. We were going to play hard but clean. And so this is a book all about that. It's about that young kid that came out of nowhere, like with the New York Jets. And we interviewed a lot of these guys. You'll hear me talk about what we did. And then, of course, you'll hear Leon Washington describe it, or James Durth, or Chris Hayes, people like that were really good players. And then, of course, in my career, you've got Zach Thomas and Larry Izzo and Bernie Parmalee and O.J. McDuffie and some of those guys. And then, of course, Taysom Hill with the Saints. They're all involved in the book. They all came out of kind of nowhere and ended up having great careers. And that's what it's about. And it's a series of stories that go on. How I got Bernie Parmalee in the league. Was with the Dolphins. We cut him. The Dolphins cut him. I knew that our general manager, I'll give one away, wouldn't turn in a fax until 1:00 every afternoon. So I went and got Bernie in his hotel room, told him to go to practice the next day. He'd already been cut. Now, you couldn't do this today, but in 1990, you could do it. All right. So he's out there practicing, hiding in the back with his helmet on. First period of the practice was mine. I told him, okay, this is going to be your chance. Well, he makes a tackle. He blows a guy up in the air. It sounded like a car accident. And, and it's the running back coach is screaming at me. I'm like, we cut him yesterday. He's swearing and everything at me. And we swear in the book now. So it's in the NFL language. And Coach Shula looked at me, what the hell? He said, I'm scared to death. I think I'm going to get fired. And anyway, makes a long story short, we talk about this guy. Coach Shula gives me a chance, doesn't fire me, brings the kid back, puts him on a practice squad. He makes it, long story short, he plays 9 years in the National Football League. And it's his whole story. The whole book it captures that. And I'm extremely proud of it. And I love the fact that we interviewed these guys. Barry Wilner, who's a writer in New York, and did a lot of that with me. And it covers basically three teams that I was with, the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Saints. And my time at New York, I loved it. I mean, I went there in 2001. I talk all about 9/11. And the Jets had a big role in 9/11. I'm not going to give it away. You have to read it to see it. And we were good. We were in the playoffs 60% of the time. We were a good football team. I loved the city. I lived in Long Island. I used to love to go into Manhattan. The Jet fans were the greatest. And so I love my time with them. I love being a Jet. I didn't want to be a Giant. I love being a Jet. Here we are in the playoffs, and we culminated when Rex came in with 2 AFC championship games and a good football team that could win a lot of different ways. And then what happened, how it kind of dissipated. And there's some people won't be too happy about my description of that, but then they shouldn't have done it if they didn't want to hear it. But that's what it's about. So figure it out. I couldn't be happier that I've done this, and I couldn't be more proud.
Coach, you mentioned your time with the Jets. My audience wants to hear all about that. So your career is fascinating because not every coach can survive 3 different head coaches coming in. You're there in 2001. Herm Edwards is the head coach. You're there when Eric Mangini's the head coach. And then obviously you're there when Rex Ryan was the head coach. What was it like being part of 3 different staffs in New York, and obviously being a major reason why the Jets had one of the best special teams during your time in New York?
Yeah, we had one of the best in NFL history. Well, really, one of those times it should have been me as the head coach. The second one after Herman. And I saw a lot of good things. There were some good things from Herman Edwards. He was a good guy. He fires too many coaches, and he still does. But other than that, he won't be happy when he reads that part. And he was totally unprepared, but he was a good guy. I should have gotten the job after that. I was really prepared. Now, they had a deal. They had it all worked out. Mike Tannenbaum and he and Eric go back to their Cleveland days, and they pulled that switcheroo, which would be you'd have to get Albert Einstein to figure out how they actually did that, but they did it. And so I stayed with Eric, and there was a lot of things that I actually really liked about him. He ended up at first he was very rough and somewhat immature, but as time went on, he did some good things. He was very good with personnel. He understood the draft. He made one terrible mistake with Vernon Golston, but for the most part, he did a nice job of putting a football team together and building a staff. I frankly don't believe he should have been let go. With Brett Favre, we're 8-3, and then Brett hurts his shoulder, and we end up 9-7. I think Eric maybe just stepped on too many toes, and he had a little bit of but he was a good man, and I think maybe if he had done it, actually, if I had been able to stick with him a little longer, I think I could have smoothed them out. I really believe that. Anyway, and then Rex came along, and I enjoyed Rex. I had fun with him. He was a good man, good defensive coach. He put together a hell of a staff. John Gruden, during the lockout, we went outside the box a little bit, and we invited all these different people to come in and visit with us. Coaches, John Gruden came in to talk with our offense for a day, stayed 6 days. But he told me, he later became a good friend of mine, and told me that was the best NFL coaching staff he had ever seen. We had good guys. Anthony Lynn, Bill Callahan. These are good coaches now. Guys that went on and did a heck of a job in the NFL and put together a good football team. When we got an offensive line with the Brickashaw Ferguson, Alan Faneca, he's in the Hall of Fame. Nick Mangold, Big Woody. Come on. And you got LaDainian Tomlinson carrying the ball. And all of a sudden, we're worried about the passing game. Come on, Mike, give me a break. You've got Rivas, Antonio Cromartie. Rex used to put Rivas on one side of the field and the whole defense on the other. Okay, go ahead, throw over there, Rivas. And so, we're a team that could go up to New England and beat them. We could beat them. Now, did we have Tom Brady? No, we didn't. We had Mark. I live in Florida, on a golf course, so Mark couldn't throw it into my lake in the back of my house. But God bless him, he did a good job managing what we had. He was okay for us.
Yeah.
We had a good controlled passing game. Dustin Keller, you could throw to him as a tight end underneath. He only caught 1 million balls, stuff like that. And we could run the ball, control the clock. I had an all-star team. But we'd knock the hell out of you. You play against us. Oh, mercy sakes. We were good. It was really fun. And all of a sudden, we decided to change. We're going to give Mark the big contract. And I remember Mike being in my office one time and said, Mike, why would we give Mark, and he still had a year on his contract, it was very fair. And his answer was, well, that's what a championship game quarterback should be paid. So if he had anything to do with us getting there, I'd probably agree with that. But since he didn't, I'm not so sure I like this move. And, we gradually just dissipated and they haven't bounced back since.
No.
They just haven't. You say what you want. They have not since that time. So, I actually was watching them a year or so ago and watching them play. And I hadn't seen them that much, because I was with the Saints and then I got out. But I wasn't sure there were 5 football players that I saw that I thought could have played on our really good teams. I'm not sure. That's just how I feel. So, when I was there, I loved it. I loved coming into New York. We were a team Yeah, were we the sexiest team? We probably weren't. We probably weren't. But were we tough? We had physical guys. We could hit you, and could run the ball. I had tough guys. We could kick and cover. We didn't make a lot of penalties. Now, I spent a lot of time in the NFL office. Mike Pereira, who's the head of officials, became a good friend of mine. And I would go down and just work with them all the time, talk to them. And then I hired officials. And so we were really trying to do it right. We did a thing. I had a guy from Long Island, Bob Miller, it's his name. He's a golf pro. He owns a small little public golf course out in Long Island. And he's the head of Long Island high school officials. Well, he used to do some of our practices. He's a very bright man. So we got him involved in replay. So he would study NFL officiating crews and their tendencies, et cetera, et cetera. And he would travel with us. So if there was a challenge, Rex would talk to him on the phone, and he would advise him as to whether or not, he should challenge the play. We had the highest percentage of success in the National Football League. So maybe we weren't too stupid. We did it right. We were doing these little things. I did a whole study of 4-down territory in Northeast teams. I had a computer guy really help me. He was a real bright guy. Let's see, we did Buffalo, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, Washington, and New England. Studied all those teams at home. What happens at this part of the field? Well, we came up with this whole thing. I came up with it. That this had to become 4-down territory for us. No, don't go for it on 4th down. Know that on 1st down, you got 4 shots. Now, if 4th down becomes unadvantageous, well, then I would take over. Well, we killed the clock. We killed the situation. We just handled it correctly. Next thing you know, we're keeping Tom Brady on the bench. That's how we won. So we go to those games. And it was so much fun. I used to love to go to New York. I loved going to New York. The fans were great. I remember standing in front of Penn Station one night it was February, real cold. I was waiting to get a cab. I was waiting for a cab to go to the restaurant. I was with my girlfriend, and we were going to dinner. And these guys, it was a Friday night. These guys all came by. It was like 7 o'clock. They'd been out probably since 4, drinking. They came by, and they recognized me. They were all talking and saying, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" We're talking, et cetera, et cetera. And the one guy said, "Coach, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, we're waiting to get a cab to go to the restaurant. We like to go to this restaurant on the Upper East Side, Elio's, my best restaurant in the city." Anyway, the guy said, "Well, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm waiting to get a cab." He said, "Well, why aren't you taking a limo?" I said, No. I'm with the Jets. The Giants ride around in limos. I take cabs like normal people." Well, they loved that. I had so much fun doing that, being a part of it. It was just a tremendous time for me. And so, anyone that would ever say, that same old Jets, no, not when I was there. Not when I was there.
That's right.
We were good. I came from a good football team in Miami, with Dan Marino and Don Shula. I was with a good team. And then later, when we had that great defense with Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas and all those guys, we were really good. And I had the best special teams unit in the NFL. Now I come to the Jets. It was really a good team. It was really a good team. And, you just had one guy after another. So many good football players. Kevin Mawai and Curtis Martin. These were good players. And next thing you know, we got into playoffs. And did we do everything perfect? No, we didn't. But trust me, don't give me that same old Jets baloney. Not that outfit. We could beat anybody. Did we? No, of course not. We didn't. But we could. Those championship games that we went in, and we were headed out in Indianapolis at the half. Of course, Peyton Manning, he's pretty good. He came back and got us. And then we fell way behind in Pittsburgh, but then we bounced back at the end and made it a challenge. But I remember to get in that game when we were in Pittsburgh, we had to win during the year. We played them in early December, I believe. And they had the number 1 defense in the league. Dick LeBeau was their coach, and they won the toss. So they deferred, took the win, and kicked off with the idea that they're going to put us in the hole, play great defense. Mark Sanchez isn't going to be able to throw the ball up and down the field. Well, yeah, guess what? We ran 96-yard kickoff for a touchdown. That's how the game started.
Brad Smith.
Brad Smith. That's exactly right. Yeah, go ahead, play us. We were good, and we ended up winning the game. I remember we had to punt. We did a great job putting people in the hole, so we punted them in the hole. Jason Taylor sacked the guy in the end zone for a safety. So now Pittsburgh had to come back 4 points down, not 3. They ended up not kicking the field goal. They couldn't. They had to go for it. We win the game. The next thing you know, we're in the playoffs, and we end up back in Pittsburgh. That's the kind of team we were. And that's what the book's about. The book's all about those kinds of guys, and that mostly my guys, that I just loved. And of course, I was pretty tough, so they didn't all love me all the time. But it was a lot of fun, and it was great to listen to. So for me to go and relive it, I don't know. I just think people will enjoy it. They're going to read it. They're going to see a lot of it, what they've done themselves. How to, like the same thing that you've done. What did you do to get yourself in a position to have your radio show? You don't get it by just somebody pulls your name out of a hat.
That's right.
So somehow you must have figured it out. That's what this book's about. And for me, to go back and live it, oh, God, I couldn't be happier or more proud.
Coach, what do you remember about Hard Knocks, and then specifically the 2010 Jets team? Because the 2009 team overachieved with a rookie quarterback, but 2010, you guys are 11-5. You guys were a really good football team. Obviously, you have the Monday night game against New England where you guys get blown out 45-3. You were just talking about, the big win in Pittsburgh that season, and then obviously the playoff wins on the road that year in Indy, then, of course, back in New England. What do you remember the most about that 2010 team? And you were a big star on TV that summer on HBO on Hard Knocks.
Two things. Hey, two things. After it was all over, Steve Sabol came into my office and said he wanted to talk to me. He sat down with me and told me, he said, when you're done with this, you've got to go into the media. He said, you have a knack for it. You're good at it. He said, I'm going to send a crew down to where you live in Florida, and I want to do an NFL Films Presents. And they did a thing with me on the field, but then out shark fishing. They went with me. It was really cool. It was great. I loved it. And he was such a gentleman to me and talked with me. And he also told me that he said that he would never do another Hard Knocks. Now, he never did because he had gotten sick and died. But he told me, he said, I'll never do another one. He said, I'll tell you why. This is the best one I've ever done.
Yep, it was.
He said, I loved it. He said, New York was perfect. He said, we could get on the subway and show what the city is like, and we could listen to Bruce Springsteen, and we could do it all. I said, this is the greatest one ever. Okay, that's the one. The other thing is, when he came in and talked with us, he said, look, if you want to be on the show, you damn sure better not act like it, but I'll never put you on. He said, just be yourself. Whatever we ask you to do, just do it. And they filmed hours. I used to know the number, and now, to tell you the truth, I forget it, of how many hours they filmed every week for a 1-hour show. It was incredible. And so I had a little battery pack that I carried with me all the time. It looked like a small little cell phone, and it recorded everything. So you never knew when you were really being recorded or what they were going to use. So for me, I just never paid attention. The only time I ever knew is if we would do an interview. And so on the field, I was the same. In the meetings, I was the same. And, I can't help it sometimes. I get into it, and I swear more than I should. But I don't know. It just was, and it ended up coming out pretty good. I mean, people liked it. But again, it's nothing more than just who I was every single day. But he made it very clear to us of how they ran it. I mean, he was, that was his father that started NFL Films. But, he was a brilliant television radio guy. Now, come on, you see, the Zabel name's pretty important. They were brilliant people. And I learned a lot from them. So Hard Knocks was really fun. And I respected how they worked. Oh, my gosh. They had a film. I was riding my bike up there one time, and they had a film crew riding along filming. You guys are crazy. And it was fun, though. It was just I respected what they did. I thought the show dramatized New York exceptionally well, not just the Jets, but, they showed the people in the city and what it was really like. I thought they captured that tremendously. And, we were a team of characters, to say the least.
Oh yeah.
That outfit that we had. I mean, we were a fight a minute. Somebody was always in a fight, and it was just who we were. And but there was a lot of respect on our team. Our guys cared for each other, and I loved them. I just had a ball with them. Of course, they wouldn't have always thought that when I was be cursing at them or screaming at them sometimes, but it was the Hard Knocks was a fun experience for me, and getting to know Steve Sabol was just an honor for me.
Coach, one of your former players, one of the best special teams players in the history of the Jets, was Leon Washington. I know you spoke with him in your book that's coming out this summer. Leon's now on the current Jets coaching staff under Robert Saleh. What's your relationship like with Leon, and do you think Leon has a chance to be a really good coach in the NFL one day?
I do. I just saw him a couple of weeks ago up at the Combine. They have a thing at the Combine. They have a special teams dinner. We started it way, way, way back. And actually, the coach that wins the Super Bowl buys the dinner for all the coaches. So they invited me. He invited me. He's my good friend with Rams, and he invited me. And then they asked me to talk to the coaches, to give them a little bit of a speech. And I talked to Leon there. Wow. It was great. He gave me a big hug, and he's not as big as he was. He's leaner. I said, come on, man, you'd have got knocked over if you were playing this size. We were laughing. I had fun with him. He was a good player. He studied the game. He appreciates the rules. He'll learn the craft as a coach. And I think you'll see him get better and better and better as a football coach. So I think he'll do pretty well. But it was fun seeing those and talking to those guys. And what I was trying to describe to them and let them know that the job that they had today was not the job that I had, because the special teams have just so greatly been diluted. And I said, if you guys don't get on top of it and keep the game safe, but find ways to keep the plays alive. And I wrote a whole chapter about it in my book, about how they can, they have to make some changes. Hopefully Roger Goodell should read it and get those guys to read it, because it makes sense. You're still going to keep it safe. The days of the craziness are gone, and you're not going to have that. But I talked to them, I said, guys, it's only going to be a matter of time before an NFL owner walks into the head coach and say, why am I paying this guy $1 million when he's coaching 7-8 plays? You help me. I said, well, you guys, you better. I mean, I helped make this job a coordinator's position. I think I did it. That's, I'm a little bit arrogant. I said, I think I did the damn thing. I said, and it's going to be gone. It's not going to be here. So figure it out. Find ways to make it exciting and yet keep it active. I know there's some things that the USFL is going to do that I actually wrote up for them and gave them some ideas over different periods of time. And they're using them. So now we'll see. But, seeing Leon, it was the greatest. He was such a good player. He just knew, he really learned. And he did a nice job in the book describing some of the technical things that we did with spacing. Like, before him, I had Justin Miller. You remember Justin? Justin would fly. Now, he led the league. When I would set a wedge, you used to be able to run wedges, and it was a 2-and-1, like a 3-man, but 2-and-1, 2 together and 1 separate. All right, we set up a wedge. But for Justin, it was 12 to 15 yards from him, because he liked to try to catch the wedge. With Leon, it would be 7 yards, because Leon liked to run behind it, like he was hiding, being a running back, and then break through the hole. And he describes all that, how spacing and distance and timing, that what we did and how it worked for him. But if you say what you want, at the end of the day, he led the league. Excuse me, that's what he did. And so those were really cool times that we had guys like that. Really, really great times.
Coach Mike Westhoff has been our guest here. Coach, before we let you go, just some questions here from those in the audience watching this live, and there'll be thousands watching after the fact. This one is from Momo. He wants to know who your favorite Jet special team player was that you coached.
Oh, wow. Is that tough? That's so tough. The return guys were great. You have to go with Leon because he's such a great return guy. And I loved him as a return guy. You couldn't beat him. It's hard not to include, this guy's pedestrian, but James Dirth was the best long snapper I ever saw. And he was so tough. Best overall guy, maybe just as a Chris Hayes. Remember Chris Hayes back in the day? Oh, he was great for me. I loved him. And a guy that maybe did, Eric Smith could block. I wrote a thing in my book that I believe, and I'd have to study this, but I might have to say this with Eric Smith. I believe he was on the field for more special teams touchdowns than anyone in NFL history. Anyone in history. I'll make a bet on that one. Now, so I guess if I have to pick somebody and they're going to be more than anybody in history, I might go with him. So those are all really cool guys. It's hard to pick this one there because I loved every one of them.
What do you remember about coaching Tim Tebow for that 1 year? Now you retired right after that year. I don't know if that's a coincidence, Coach.
He couldn't throw across the street. Other than that, here's the thing with Tim. When they came to me about Tim Tebow, I got on board. I said yes. And they were asking me if I was going to use him. I wanted to use him only in one regard, as a personal protector on my punt team, because he was such a great fake threat, which we used him and did it well. We were good at it. Okay. Everything else, it doesn't suit Tim. Tim, people try to get me to talk about the differences between Tim Tebow and down in New England or in New Orleans.
Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill, thank you. Couldn't get it out with Taysom. Just similar guys, but different makeups. I mean, Taysom Hill would run down the field and kickoff and knock your head off. Tim Tebow, he's not hitting anybody. It's just different guys. What I'm disappointed in is the fact that our offense never really did what they said they were going to do and incorporate him as a guy that they would move in and out and use kind of a wildcat guy and all those types of things. They never did that. They didn't hold up their end of the bargain. I did. And so with Tim, I loved him as a kid, though. He'd come in my office at night, we'd sit there and draw plays, and he was good at them. But when it came time to block somebody or, whoa, my goodness gracious, he didn't want any parts of that. So in that regard, Taysom Hill's, it's not even close. He's much, much, much better player.
This one is just from Mike saying that you are his favorite Jet coordinator of all time, and you should have gotten a head coaching gig, Coach. How close did you ever come to landing a head coaching gig? I know you interviewed for the Jet job.
There were 2 times. One that I really believed that I should have absolutely gotten it was when Jimmy Johnson retired from Miami. I had the best special teams unit in the NFL. We had a good team. I had a good plan. They weren't going to bring back Dan Marino. And Dan came to me, and he and I are very close, still are, and wanted me to try to get the head coaching job and keep him. All right, so what I was going to do, I was going to keep our defensive coordinator, George Hill. We had the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. All right. I had the best special teams unit. I was going to bring in my friend Joe DeCamillis, who's at the Rams now, to be that when I was the head coach. And then I had a good friend that I went to school with, Dean Huey, who was coaching at Indianapolis. I was going to bring him in and hire him as the offensive coordinator to put in the Peyton Manning offense for Dan Marino at the end of his career. Jimmy had Dan in the under center, dropping back. And remember, Dan had that Achilles that had to wear that big boot. Well, I had none. I was going to put him in the shotgun, catch the ball, and throw it. Dan Marino would have thrown for 5,000 yards if I had taken that job. I should have gotten it. They gave it to another guy whose name I refuse to use. I wouldn't use it in my book because I don't think it was an absolute disgrace. But anyway, as far as I'm going to go with that one, that's the time I really believed I should have gotten the job. And then after Herman, they just had a deal set up that really I interviewed, but it really was nondescript because they wanted Mike was going to become the general manager. Terry Bradway was going to change roles, and they were going to bring in Eric Mangini, who had been with Mike, and that was kind of a done deal. So even though I interviewed, and I probably could have done a better job on my interview, but to me it was like no one was interviewing me; they were interviewing themselves. And so, but I could have I think I would have done a pretty good job there. Here's the thing that I know. I don't believe that the fact it didn't happen for me defines my career. I don't believe that. Sometimes we have to make the best of what we have. I had a lot of, issues, external issues going on that I had to deal with. I only had 50 million surgeries, and I was going through all those things. And I fought cancer back when I was at Miami, and I had my entire left leg's metal. I mean, all of it. New York, guy Sloan Kettering, John Healy, best surgeon in the world, did it for me. So my time in New York was also, a lot of it was, I was very fortunate to have the best medical in the world, anywhere. It's right there. And so for me, and trust me, I know a little bit about it because I had so darn many surgeries. And so I had to go through that too. And those things didn't exactly help my career, but that's okay. I'm disappointed, but I've never been disgruntled, or I never felt someone else got something that I deserved. I don't look at it that way. I loved what I did, and I appreciate anyone. I just sort of believe this. Whatever, I didn't know anything about special teams. I figured it out. I would have figured out that part of it too.
I believe it. How about this one from Big Daddy on YouTube? He wants to know, Coach, what do you think about Joe Douglas, his staff, and Robert Saleh and his staff? Have you seen any of the Jets, and just kind of your thoughts on them as they're trying to enter this rebuild?
I've seen the Jets some. So I think Robert Saleh's got an interesting thing ahead of him. To tell you the truth, I'd like to see him a little bit more, what's a good way I can say it, a little more active during the game. I don't want a cheerleader during the game, but I don't want someone standing there just looking like he's reading a paper. So that sort of bothers me a little bit. I like people that are involved. I don't know. I worked with Don Shula for all those years. And so I'm used to a certain type of guy that does things a particular way. Joe Douglas, I don't know enough to say. I don't know enough. It'll be very interesting to see what's going to happen. I personally just don't know. It'll be interesting to see. The staffs have changed so much, but in today's game, the game's changed. You've got to stay with the game. You've got to understand it. You've got to have that quarterback that can pull the trigger. I mean, look at Cincinnati and Buffalo. Those teams. I mean, the Chargers. These are the guys that are really moving forward. Look what Kansas City's done. So you better get on board because the game's being played that way. It's being played. You have to understand it. You've got to know all these things and be prepared for them. And if you can do that and adjust and get your football team going that way, you've got a chance to win. You can win some games. But you better understand it. The game is fast. It's fast, lightning fast. To be slow motion, not going to work for you. You got to see how things are going. But we'll find out. It's hard to know. But I don't know Douglas very well. And Robert Saleh, I saw some good things, but I've also seen some things that I think he's going to have to step in the right direction.
A couple more here for a coach real quick. We're being presented by BUSR. If you're looking for a way to bet on sports, use BUSR. They are my official sports book. They should be yours too. Head over to BUSR.com/Asman. Sign up, make your account today. You could bet on sports. You could obviously participate in the online casino, the horse racing book, anything you want to bet on anytime. Check it out at BUSR.com/Asman. They support us. So please support them if you're looking for a really interactive, safe, and fun sports book to place your bets on. Coach, got to ask you about Zach Wilson. I mean, you mentioned quarterback play. You were around some really good ones in your career. Just your thoughts on Zach Wilson and his capabilities of maybe being this team's franchise quarterback.
Okay. I have not seen him as much, but I have watched them. Of course, I've been around some pretty good quarterbacks. You're right. Yeah. Started with Dan Marino all those times and ended up with Drew Brees. So those guys are pretty good. And of course, Vinny Testaverde. When I was there, I saw a guy who could throw the ball through the wall. So pretty darn good football players. I like a lot of things I see about this young man. I like what I see. I liked him coming out of college. I didn't study him, like I used to study. No, not when I was in the media. Also, I did a lot of work then. But I see some good things about this guy. The thing that I didn't see has nothing to do with him. Their offensive line needs a lot of work. Their running game, it's got a long ways to go. I think you need to be able to put this together a little bit. And the receivers, they've got some good ones, but this isn't guys you're going to hang your hat on. they're okay. When you look at some of the, I mean, you go back to even the Jets. I mean, I remember we had Santana Moss and Wayne Corbett and Lavernius Coles, and whoa, those are pretty good guys. Go back to Duper and Clayton and that whole outfit. Of course, down at the Saints with Mike Williams and Mike, what's his name? I can't think of it. Receiver. Yeah, Mike Williams. Anyway, a lot of you, I don't see this with the Jets just yet. So much as I like the quarterback, I see a little better supporting cast. Then we're going to see. But I think he's got a heck of a chance. And I'd want to give this guy an opportunity and get him the right weapons, especially those guys in front of him. Don't let him get beat up. Don't let him get beat up. Keep him on his feet. That's what scares me a little bit about Cincinnati. They don't get that guy protected. He's going to be watching the game from the Med Center. They got to take care of that guy. Even how many times did he get hit in the Super Bowl? And he's tough as nails. So they better solve that problem. That's the key. But Zach, I think they've got a pretty darn good football player there. I do.
Ice Storm wants to thank you for all your years with the Jets, Coach. We love you. I feel like Jet fans, we haven't had a whole lot in our history, Coach, but we're used to having excellent special teams, and you're a huge part of that. So I
had a ball. I loved it. I had a ball. And I loved the fans. It was just, as much as me, I didn't want to be anywhere else. It was the greatest. When I look back on it, that was maybe the greatest years of my life. It was a tremendous time for me. So many good things happened in my life at that time. I will always, always, always have a great regard for New York. Sometimes when I see some of the crazy things that have happened there lately, with the problems, the social problems and the police problems and the subways. And I didn't know anything about the subway. I didn't care. I'd go get on the damn thing. I just figure it out. I felt safe everywhere. And so that's the New York that I knew and I loved. And I'll be happy when it's all back to where it used to be, including that team that you've got their hat on.
That's right. All right. Hopefully things start to change soon. One more here, Coach. This one is a good one, a kind of outside of football question for you. What are some of your hobbies outside of football? What have you been doing down in Florida?
Okay. Yeah. For years, I used to love, before I had all my surgeries, I was a really good tennis player. And I love playing golf. Now, after some of the surgeries, I could still play golf. And I was okay. I would shoot in the low 80s. If I played really great, I'd shoot 78. If I played terrible, I'd shoot 88. And so I had fun. I really had fun. And then, but after some of the surgeries I had to kind of quit playing. All right. So I have a boat and I go fishing. And I live on the Gulf of Mexico. So I get to go a lot. And I fish just for fun, only for fun. And I only fish for sharks. I don't kill them, but we're good. We catch them. They're really good. I mean, I just love the fight. Let's see, I've got I caught a 12-foot hammerhead, 10-foot bull sharks. Must be a 56-foot black tip. I catch 100 more every year. And we let them go. I don't kill them. I don't go way out. I stay in the passes. And we have a ball. People go with me. Guys who used to coach with me or play for me. Zach Thomas, those guys all come over. They all go fishing. We have a greatest time. I know the best restaurants. My hangout's a place called Cabbage Key. It's where Jimmy Buffett wrote Cheeseburger in Paradise. Trust me, I know what it's like. I go there. That's the owner's one of my real good friends, my girlfriend, and we have a ball. So for me, I live in the best place around. And then also, I went to school at Wyoming, so I still go out there a lot. And I go to Jackson Hole. I own 4 snowmobiles. And I keep them out there at my friends.
Wow.
And we travel all over and go snowmobiling. So for me, I've got like the best life in the world. I'm the happiest guy ever. I've got a good situation. So I really have a ball. And then get to do this book, and I plan on traveling to try to promote it and promote the great things of the NFL, because the job was the best job in America. And I was able to do it 657 times. That's how many games I coached. And a lot of those were right there with you guys. And that was a tremendous time for me. So what do? I go shark fishing and I go snowmobiling. So, and I go kayaking in the summer. So I'm 74, but I sometimes think I'm 47. And but I'm just very, very fortunate. I'm very fortunate.
Coach, one more time. You mentioned the book. Tell my audience. We spoke about it throughout the course of this conversation, but figure it out. It's coming out in July. What more information do Jet fans need to know on how they could buy this book?
We can get it anywhere. Be able to get it on Amazon. It'll be coming out in an audio book, which I'm actually going to read. The book is in our language. When the players did it, we don't care. However you want to say it, say it. It's really pretty cool like that. It just tells great stories. Great instances of guys coming out. You can get it anywhere. It'd be in Barnes and Noble, on Amazon. You can get it anywhere. You can get it online, and I think people will enjoy it. I'm exceptionally proud. It was an honor to work in the National Football League. I made that very clear. I told the whole thing about what I felt, what it was like to be standing on the sideline during the national anthem, what that meant to me, and how it came about for me. It'll be interesting when people read it, how I got started in a particular position. But it's just the reverence that's involved in the game and the sport and the toughness of it. I loved. I mean, to me, I made it very clear. We want to be physical. It's violent but controlled. If you don't want to hit anybody, play soccer. That's okay with me. I'm not no disrespect. Because I think they're tremendous athletes, but they don't hit anybody. Come on. This is the game where you hit. This is the toughest game of all.
That's right.
It's the most cerebral game. I made that clear. Baseball, you get traded. The new manager tells you, when I grab my leg, go ahead, steal first. Steal second. Yeah, excuse me. You get notebook this big. You better learn it. It's just so much to learn. That's why football is the best ever. And I was fortunate, my opinion, being the best time ever. And for the kicking game, not even close. Best ever.
Coach, I could talk to you all day. Thanks so much for your time. Best of luck with the new book. We'll have to get you on again soon. I know Jet fans are going to love this. I know they already are loving this conversation. So great to catch up. Continued success. And I know this book's going to be a major success as well.
Jake, thank you. Thank you. I'm very honored that you would say that.
He's Coach Mike Westhoff. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. Please hit the subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen. Hit the like button down below to support the show. And, of course, support Mike Westhoff's book coming out this summer. Figure It Out in July, available where books are sold. Have a good day, everybody.